Okay, so if you think that acting is deception, then you've just been watching really, really poor acting. There's this massive gap between what the public perceives acting to be and what it actually is, what's behind the craft, what you actually do as an actor. So that's what we're going to talk about today. My name is Elon, and I've been an actor for several years, and I've really spent most of that time unlearning how to pretend so that I can start telling the truth, which is what acting really is. It's truth. Sanford Meisner, Hagen, Chubbuck, of course Stanislavski, and they all say the same thing. It's not what you think it is. It really isn't. So what is it? What's the misconception here, right? What I keep running into is this idea from the public that acting is lying. It's pretending to feel, pretending to care, pretending to be something that you're not. This idea that the more you can change who you are, the better of an actor you are. So you have this criticisms of wonderful actors because they seem rather similar in many different roles. And then you have this praise for actors who are very different in different types of roles. And that's not necessarily the benchmark of good acting. And we'll dive into exactly why that is. It's not the opposite either, it's not a bad thing to be able to be diverse in your mannerisms, in your characters, right? But it's not the core of good acting, right? So this idea that we mimic emotions, that I'm pretending to be sad and I'm doing it so convincingly that you believe me, that's simply not true. Well, not for the most part anyway, not for most actors, especially not in this modern day and age. The thing is this, right? We as human beings, we have evolved through millennia as social animals. And our bullshit detector is so fine and it's so accurate and precise that we detect bullshit like that. So if an actor is faking it, you'll feel it. Or at least, rather you won't feel it. As soon as you start faking or putting stuff on top, you're just making it worse. Back in the day, back in the 1900s, there was basically these two schools of acting, right? You had the representational and the presentational. And representational is what people think acting is today. It really isn't today. It used to be part of it, a school of acting was representational. It's sort of like mimicry. It's imitation. You play this trope, this character, and people recognize it and they find it really impressive as a feat. But you will applaud it in the same way you would applaud an acrobat done a feat, or someone who walked a tightrope, or a performer of some other kind. Then there's the other type, presentational, which is being, not playing a character, not imitating a character, but becoming that character, fully living the experience of that character. And here we move into what acting really is. Someone who truly, truly moves you, where you can relate to the human experience of what they're in. The audience will be silently sobbing. That's where you actually move people. That's where the magic happens. The audience forgets it's even a performance because they're so pulled into it by the actor being completely lost in the character. And that's another point, characters. It's this idea that you go into character. That's a big thing. And, you create these characters, and then for the most part, for most acting methods, the character is mostly on the paper. It's mostly the story. You, the actor, what you're supplying, apart from a physical body, obviously, is the will, the emotional truth, the emotional reactions, the human experience of it. And then the story and the script, etc., that's what the character is, what the character does and how it chooses to behave. Your job as an actor is to just personify, embody that? How do I make it real? Because that's what we're going for here. We're going for realness. True acting is, Sanford Meisner put it beautifully, it would be a crime not to quote him, acting is living truthfully under imaginary circumstance. I'm going to repeat that because it's brilliant. Acting is living truthfully under imaginary circumstances. That's it. And that's what it is. Acting is a constant pursuit of truth. It's the opposite of what the often public perception of being deception is. It's the complete opposite. We want to move closer and closer to truth, to authentic expression. You know, the trick is, of course, that I am not my character. The character will react differently to things than I do. And that's where a lot of the methodology comes in. How do I make this personal for me? How do I make it affect me? But that's really just one school, and we're not going to go into all the different kind of methodologies. The baseline of all the different schools of acting is the same. It's truth. There was a time, this methodology of acting, del Sarte, I think it's called, where you would literally practice emotional poses. You would have actors to learn, a pose of sadness. They would imitate the body language of sadness, and they would learn this array of different sort of expressions, and they would just put them on. It won't move you. A beautiful story that really illustrates this difference. On one hand, you've got Coquelin. I'm probably not saying that right. I didn't look it up. And then you have Salvini. Coquelin is a wonderfully famous representational actor. People adored him because he would so accurately depict something that you could relate to. The typical husband in suburban America, right? And the kind of mannerisms that go with, or the mannerisms that go with this and that. People would give him thunderous applause at the end of his performances. And what's interesting about this is Coquini and Salvini, they actually play the same role, same play. Salvini is what most modern actors would say actually what acting is about. He would be focusing on portraying, embodying, feeling it fully, being present with it, caring about it, being there, personifying it. And at the end of the act, for the first time, the representation side, the imitation, people would get up and they would applaud and it would be impressive, right? And when Salvini walked off stage, there was mostly silence. People were silently sobbing. They would lost themselves completely in their emotional reaction to it. They became so deeply touched. And that's really the difference. Like, acting is supposed to move you. It's not supposed to impress you. Something that is impressive and that often gets touted as impressive are these character actors. I've got the classics. You've got Johnny Depp, for example, who plays very diverse sort of characters. And there is an impressive aspect to it. But even then, it's not about pasting on the mannerisms. There needs to be authentic emotional core to it. And then the more you can work with your mannerisms to portray different sort of individuals and make them feel distinct and different, that is impressive in its own right. But the actual benchmark of good acting is, does it move you? You've got these actors who play virtually the same character. They're not really, but I can see what people mean, right? Because they don't change their mannerisms too much. They don't make it wildly outlandish changes to their way of being. But they move you. They move you. They make you feel it every damn time, right? And that's good acting. And then if you can do the mannerisms and really create new characters, that's a whole thing in itself, right? And that can be super impressive. I wouldn't say it's a necessity of good acting. It's not a YouTube video in 2026 if you don't talk about AI in the future, right? And this is also interesting, and it kind of ties into this whole thing we've been talking about truth, right? Will AI replace acting? No, I don't believe it will. And I can't say for certain, right? AI keeps blowing our minds, right? But if we go back to this human bullshit detector, it's there, right? And we can detect authenticity in emotion. And especially acting, in a lot of ways, it's relational. Like, even in monologues, actors, good actors, it's relational to them. They will work with something that makes it feel like they're talking to a person. And there's spontaneity and there's human connection, and that's things that AI just simply can't emulate. We have wonderful filmmakers. My favorite filmmaker, Christopher Nolan, he believes that the audience can feel if it is real. He never uses CGI, barely. I mean, there are a few exceptions, but essentially never, because he believes you can feel if it's real. And in the same way, I believe AI will never take over this craft, because we will feel if it's real as the audience. It might look good, but it won't touch our soul. And that, as we've learned today, is what acting is really all about. So, to sum it all up neatly, tie a little bow on this video, you could say that acting is about being brave enough to be vulnerable and real in public. It's not hiding yourself behind a mask. See if there are any parts of this that I kind of want to redo. I don't know. Coquelin. I have no idea how to pronounce that name. I don't want to look it up. Who cares? Nah. Whatever. It's my first video. There it is. That's what you get. Thanks, Simon.